G'day everyone. Today we're going to talk about precision work holding. So what we're going to show you today is some examples of how a precision pattern maker's vise can make work holding very efficient when you're using hand tools. Most of the work at hntgordon holding plane bodies is holding parallel objects. This is why we made the vise non-racking. We also put a thin piece of lever on one jaw which helps hold things. One of the things which is really nice, and I get asked about why do we use that step in the thing, it's for holding long tools which are heavy. So rather than wrestling with it trying to get it in the vise nice and flat and square, it's very easy to do that and then just tilt it at the correct angle to do your handwork. One of the advantages of pattern maker's vise is you can rotate the jaw to the height that suits efficient work holding and which is good for your body. This shoulder plane, also hollows and rounds, we make lots of them, and to finish a plane usually it goes in and out of the vise somewhere between 12 and 15 times. So every time we grab this plane it has to be super stable and not move on us. And if you have a look at my body, I'm nicely aligned in this direction and also this direction, so that when I'm using my scrapers I can get my accuracy, and also it's not hard on my wrist or back. When making some planes, in particular smoothing planes or anything with a flat bed like this which has been mortised out, there's a fair bit of work to be done there with a scraper, and you've got to apply a lot of force to get it to cut nicely and get rid of the waste. So it's not really suitable to put your plane in the other way. So we need to put it at this way, so it's rock solid. So when I start applying the force, you can see there's no movement in that plane body. And also same thing, I can tilt it to the correct angle to suit my height, to keep my wrist straight, my body is in the right position to use my shoulders to help push. And if you're not in those correct positions, you'll find this very, very hard work. With tool making, we quite often have a lot of little brass parts. In this case it's for an adjuster, and I've got to tap these two M2.5 holes. So the precision of this vise allows me to hold this little part nicely. I use a drill with a bubble for level. I can pick whether I'm square to the face, bring the bubble into the centre, and I can tap my hole. Very efficient, very quick, and I don't have to tie up a machine to do that small job. To make the capabilities of our pattern maker's vise complete, you have to be able to hold tapered and double tapered items. So what we've made is this tilting jaw which has a dog, fits into the back jaw of the vise and can rotate to different angles to accommodate different shapes. There you might use it for short pieces, or around here we have another position so you've got clear access down through your vise. So what I'm showing here, it's tapered both ways and I can put that in the vise. Cricket bat making is another example where you can hold odd shaped items so that you can work on them with a draw knife, etc. The tilting jaw does have limitations, and we'll show shortly how it won't hold a very small item like this, because the item, you have to have enough meat in the object to get over the centre line of the dog, so it just won't hold when it's up here. I don't often make chopsticks, but occasionally when we go to Japan we take some over as gifts. It's not one of those major jobs or anything, but I just wanted to show you the precision of this vise and a simple false jaw that you can make to make jobs like this really simple and efficient. Because the vise is non-racking, I've put the taper on two sides here, but it's untapered there, so I can hold it there to get my first two tapered sides, but there's no way that I can hold that now with a taper, because it's just, that piece of wood just flops about. But by putting a tapered rebate here, a brass dog that fits in the same hole that we use for our tilting jaw, I've now got a very good method of holding something quite delicate. The false jaw just wouldn't hold something like this. And that's nice and firm now, so that I can run my taper on the other side of. So do that taper, then I can flip it over, re-hold it, got a little bit more work to do, but you can see the precision of that work holding situation. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is you can simply make up false jaws to suit the exact type of work that you're doing, and it will make it efficient for you to hold your workpiece. More specific to furniture making, we use our pattern maker's vise when we're doing certain jobs for making furniture, because it brings the work up to you. It's similar to what you would get with a Moxon vise, but on its own it's still a little bit not quite solid enough for your dovetailing. So Lachlan made this jig up which clamps to your bench and then shores up this side of the job. So just put that in position, just a threaded rod with a knob, that fits in your dog hole underneath the bench. And then you simply apply a clamp. But consideration here, some people like to cut their dovetails both ways on an angle, some people like to tilt their dovetails to so that you're cutting vertical and then tilt back the other way to get it vertical for the other side. I don't mind cutting them either way, so I'll put the clamp on here, and you can see we're rock solid. So once you've got it in position and held securely, then we can cut. And cut the waste out. Then the rest will get chiselled. We'll do this other one while we're there. With the non-racking jaws, you can put quite a big panel in there, and that will hold while you just cut your ends here. The next step of making a dovetail box, a large one, which can be quite difficult, you've got to mark out your pins using your tails. So one of the difficulties with doing this, if your panels are quite large, is supporting them as you mark them out. So with this accessory that we've made, if I line up that face there and also using that which is square, I can get this in the position which also lines up, this corner here lines up with this face of the vise. So that face there and that face are perfectly parallel, and that's if you're going to make one of these, that's the key to this jig. Now Now, once I've got that in position, I can apply a clamp across there to hold it nice and tight. So while I'm marking out, it can't move. And all I've got to do now is slide my panel up into position, making sure the corners meet. And if you need to do a fine adjustment, you can just back your clamp off slightly and get that perfect alignment. Then go about with your marking knife. You can mark out your pins for your dovetails and then go ahead and cut them. And same again, you could use, when you're cutting your pins, you could use that in your vise and that accessory to get the piece of wood up at the right height and get that job done. Well, hopefully you found that video useful in describing the capabilities of our pattern maker's vise, along with the extended capabilities using a tilting jaw. Also, don't forget you can make specific shop-made false jaws if you have specific work you want to do with that vise. This jig, in concert with the pattern maker's vise, gives you all the capabilities of a Moxon vise, which is very handy for your furniture making. Whether you're a hobbyist or do your work commercially, hopefully you'll see that this vise can give you more accuracy, more efficiency in your work. And if that turns into dollars for you on a commercial basis, well, this vise will pay for itself very quickly. From a hobbyist point of view, this vise will make your hobby certainly a lot more enjoyable and will give you capabilities you didn't think you had. If you have any questions, you can go to the comments section there and ask them. If you need more specific details about this vise, there's a link in the description to our website which has the full details on that, on the specifics. And if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel.